What's the significance of Harley Quinn's new look? Was Idris Elba originally meant to play Deadshot in the movie? And what made Pete Davidson accept his role immediately? Hi, I'm Clive, and please don't let Amanda Waller detonate my bomb. Harley's evolving wardrobe. If you're thinking about style, there's no one who loves new threads as much as Harley Quinn. Whether she's dressing up in a classic look or changing it up for the next movie, Harley isn't exactly like Charlie Brown, who only has one t-shirt in his cupboard. Good grief! For the Suicide Squad, though, she looks much more different than she did in her first appearance. But why the constant change? It's simple, really. In the first movie, Harley's identity was tied closely to the Joker's, hence the tattoos and Daddy's Little Monster thing. But in Birds of Prey, she finally liberated herself from the shackles of that toxic relationship. She was now on her own, rediscovering who she was before she met Mr. J and experimenting with new things. Now, in the Suicide Squad, she's more personified than ever. She knows exactly who she is, and she's stronger because of it. Harley isn't the clown princess you remember anymore. She's evolved into a badass anti-heroine who isn't owned by anyone else. Plus, it also helps that this is a snazzy comic book accurate look as well. Deadshot versus Deathstroke? When you look at both Deadshot and Deathstroke, it's easy to confuse the characters. Not only do they have similar names, but they also look incredibly alike. Well, things would have gotten even a little more confusing had the original plans for Suicide Squad 2 panned out. Yep, you guessed it. Both Floyd Lawton and Slade Wilson were set to appear in the film. Heck, if Deadpool was a DC character, it could have been a trifecta of dead people.
I see dead people.
Speaking to the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, Joe Manganiello revealed that his Deathstroke was in 4 or 5 different versions of the movie, even being asked to put dates on hold for the production. He said, "There was a Zach Penn script, then there was a Gavin O'Connor version. There was a film with Will Smith, without Will Smith. There was just me and Will Smith. It just went on and on." With the shakeup at Warner Brothers, though, everything changed. Now, neither of the characters are in the Suicide Squad or even in the immediate pipeline for any further productions. Corporate suits, right? Well, the role of Deadshot was almost recast too, but we'll be covering that tidbit a little bit later on. So stick around for some sharp-shooting facts. Don't get too attached. The title of the film is The Suicide Squad. So, in other words, spoiler alert, people are gonna die. Even in the previous film, not all of the supervillains survived. Rest in peace, Slipknot and Diablo. This time around, though, the cast is much bigger, which means only one thing. You're gonna see a lot more bad guys go boom! Judging by the trailer, you're easily able to spot who the main characters are, and by the process of elimination, who will survive once the credits roll. Of course, Harley Quinn will definitely make it out alive, since she's a franchise on her own. While John Cena's Peacemaker is more than likely to make it to the end too, since he's got an HBO Max series in the works. But Boomerang? You don't see too much of him in the marketing, so this might be one of those occasions when the boomerang doesn't come back to you. Joel Kinnaman has already warned us to not get too attached to the characters, so you know that's as big a warning as you're going to get. As long as King Shark doesn't die, though. That's all we beg of you, James Gunn. Please! I mean, just look at those cute shorts on the shark. Plus, it's Sly Stallone's voice. He's just perfect. The Creator Easter egg. The late Stan Lee truly started something with his cameos. It was always fun to try and spot the Marvel creator in all the MCU movies. As it turns out, James Gunn is bringing some of that magic to the DC universe as well. In the Suicide Squad, he actually cast John Ostrander, the modern creator of Task Force X, in the movie. But you don't even need to wait until the film is released to spot John's cameo, as it's already available and viewable in the trailer. Wondering where? Well, check out the part where Michael Rooker's Savant is getting the bomb implanted in his head. The doctor in the background, putting on the gloves, that's John. Naturally, a host of comics creators recognized John in the trailer and expressed their excitement. James also confirmed the cameo with a tweet saying, "It only makes sense that the actual creator of the Suicide Squad is the one to put the bombs in their heads, and it helped that John Ostrander was actually a former actor. It's true that John started out his career as a thespian with the Organic Theater Company in Chicago. However, he decided to change direction and move to writing comics in 1983. With one cameo confirmed so far, you have to wonder if there will be more. Knowing how James likes to make his movies, it's best that you keep your eyes peeled at all times. Idris Elba as Deadshot? Whether you love the first Suicide Squad or you hated it, you can't deny that Will Smith was terrific as the master of the bullseye, Floyd Lawton. He made such an impression that DC and Warner's had major plans to bring him back in the future. Unfortunately, being a megastar like Will, you're always in high demand and not always readily available for every project. The studio tried to make it work and plan the production around him, but Will ultimately dropped out because of scheduling conflicts. Warner's had a backup plan though, as originally reported by Variety. The studio approached Idris Elba to replace Will as Deadshot, knowing it was unlikely that Will would be able to commit to the movie. But then later on, Idris was announced as another character, Bloodsport, who does share some striking similarities with Deadshot though. While the official reason for this change was never announced or acknowledged by anyone to date, it's likely because Will has a good relationship with Warner Brothers and might return as Deadshot in a future film down the road. So instead of burning a bridge, everyone decided to just put the supervillain on pause for now. That's okay though, because it means we might get to see Idris and Will on screen together again, which is quite frankly a win-win for all of us. The previous director was fired and didn't know. One thing that we've all learned from the Snyder Cut is that executives love nothing more than to meddle in film productions. After the first Suicide Squad received its fair share of interference, the studio decided it was going to triple its efforts for this latest film. Even though David Ayer pulled in record numbers at the box office, he wasn't the natural choice to lead the sequel. There was some tension between him and Warner Brothers as the studio took his cutaway and did its own editing. And this wasn't quite forgotten afterwards, as creative differences were cited as his reason for not coming back. From there, a host of other directors were linked to the project. At one stage, Gavin O'Connor signed on and was ready to start rolling once Will Smith became available. But then, the studio pulled a fast one on him. It secured James Gunn services and decided to get rid of Gavin in favor of James. Reportedly, Gavin only found out about it when the news broke on social media. Talk about being ghosted. In a later interview with Empire, James confirmed that Gavin's version for the film would have featured Black Adam as the villain, and that it was scrapped because several plot points were too similar to Birds of Prey, which was in production. Sheesh, you'd think the studio would have thought of these things before it hires people, right? And speaking of James, he picked this project over Superman. Looking at James Gunn's success with Guardians of the Galaxy, it's no surprise that he's one of the hottest filmmakers around today. But his career almost came to a screeching halt when controversial tweets from his past resurfaced. As a result, Disney and Marvel decided to part ways with him before he started work on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. In case you didn't know, they rehired him a while later. Marvel's loss was DC's gain, however, as Warner Brothers quickly snatched up the director and made him an offer he couldn't refuse. The deal was the following. Gunn had a choice of doing any DC movie he wanted, whether it be Superman, Black Adam, Green Lantern, whatever. If it wasn't in production yet, it was fair game, and he could pick and do with it as he pleases. Answering a question on his Instagram page, James confirmed that this deal was indeed true. He also elaborated on his choice. As has been reported many times, DC offered me whatever film I wanted to do, including some sort of Superman movie. I chose the Suicide Squad as it's one of my favorite properties in the world. It's the story I wanted to tell more than any other. According to James, the studio hasn't interfered with this film at all and allowed him to do his thing. Who knows? Maybe Warner Brothers did learn its lesson after the whole Snyder Cut fiasco. Pete Davidson loves his character's real name. Right now, Pete is killing it. He's having a breakout time in his career and getting some insane parts in the process. Deep down, however, he still loves nothing more than a good laugh. In fact, that's the #1 reason he took the role of Blackguard in the Suicide Squad. Chatting on The Tonight Show, Pete said the following. I got a call from James Gunn. He was like, there's this role for you in the movie, and you play a guy named Richard Hertz. And I was like, Dick Hertz! I'm in! Yeah, that's his real name. Pete thought it was the greatest thing ever and loved it because it was so ridiculous. In many ways, his reaction is exactly the same as the rest of us. Seriously, who doesn't laugh when they see a name like Bend Over or Huge Ass? Now, there's gonna be a Dick Hertz in the Suicide Squad. Well, we already got a Ralph Boner in WandaVision earlier this year, so this is truly par for the course in comic book properties now. Who wants to be Bruce Wayne or Clark Kent when these names are far more memorable? Or at least side-splittingly funny. Yeah, this film definitely looks like a riot, and if you're looking for some more hilarious moments with the squad, check out our Harley Quinn bloopers video. While you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and put on your notifications. And stay awesome. Thanks for watching.